I am here with Jeff of the YouTube channel StinkyCASH. And Jeff, you are a flat earther, is that correct?
That is correct.
How long have you been talking about the flat earth theory?
Almost about a year now. I was a truther before that. I had woken up to other truths like 9/11 and the Federal Reserve and our debt-based money.
Uh-huh.
And about I guess you could say about 8 months after that, I was told about the flat Earth, and I looked into it for myself. I tested the globe. I did some observations, and I settled on the flat Earth. It's not a belief-based thing. I can see the Earth is flat. I can feel that we're stationary. You have to believe you're on a ball, and you have no proof of that. You've never seen the ball with your own eyes. You've never seen the curve with your own eyes. So I try to trust my senses and trust my gut and trust Scripture, and all that says the Earth is flat.
So what was the very first thing that really got you thinking the Earth was flat? Like, what's the most intriguing piece of evidence?
Yeah. I guess you could say just when you think about water, when you just think about the ball or the globe Earth from a logical point of view, how they have water sticking to the outside of a ball. And a spinning ball, nonetheless. And we know a spinning ball with water on it, the water is going to spiral off the ball. So if they tell you that this is all possible, that the water sticks to the outside of this ball, all through gravity. So you have to believe that water sticks to the bottom of a spinning ball. But we know in the real world that water will, try to seek the lowest point. It will always level out, and it will take the shape of its container. That's scientific. They teach you that in, fourth grade science class, that water takes the shape of its container. Well, the globe has water curving and sticking around the outside of a ball, and it has no container. So right off the bat, that's not very scientific.
How is gravity not? Why is gravity not just holding the water? And how do you disprove that?
Well, gravity is not something that you can even test or measure or observe or reproduce in any kind of experiment. They've never had an experiment where they've gotten two pieces of matter to stick to each other just based on their size alone.
But what about just like dropping something to the ground?
Oh yeah, we're not denying that. Things fall to the ground, and that's simply because of density. See, there's no reason to think that without gravity you would be able to walk on air. Because air, like a liquid, is a fluid, and you displace air. Anyone that's ever waved a fan on their face knows that you displace air. That's how rockets work. So air is a fluid, and something that is denser than this air will fall through it until it hits another solid piece of matter. This is why a helium balloon rises, or this is why a hot air balloon rises, because hot air is less dense than the surrounding air, and helium is less dense than the surrounding air, so it rises. It's buoyant energy, and it's density. There's no actual force sucking us to the earth the way they claim.
So let's say you're dealing with someone who doesn't believe in the flat earth theory, how do you kind of convince them? What's the things you can say to convince them?
I take different approaches for different people, really. I like to talk about water, and I like to talk about the horizon. So, see, I live on the Jersey Shore, so I'm on the other side of the country from you guys. And anyone who's ever been on the beach and you look out at the horizon of the ocean, it's a perfectly flat line, and it's going to appear to be at your eye level. That line you see of the ocean meeting the sky, that's formed by perspective, and it will always be at your eye level, and that flat line will split your eyeballs. It's literally in the exact center of your eye. And that's how perspective works on a linear flat plane.
But what about when you see like
works on a ball.
What about when you see like a ship in the distance and it rises into the horizon?
Right. That's one of those proofs that they gave us right off the bat, is that ships disappear bottom first over the horizon. And now this kind of depends on the size of the ship. So if you've ever been to the beach, some boats are so small that they might appear to disappear. Take out some binoculars, and you could bring that boat right back into view. And it didn't go, around a curved earth. It just vanished because of its size. Other boats are so big that the vanishing point of that object would be well past your distance to the horizon, which is a different formula. So horizons and vanishing points are two different things. So if a boat is so big that it hasn't vanished before it hits the horizon, what happens is it bottoms out. The bottom will disappear first because you can see something that's higher longer, just like you can see further the higher up you go. But like I said, no matter how high up you go on Earth, the horizon will stay at eye level directly in front of you and will continue to rise with your eyes.
Well, so even if you're on like if you're on Mount Everest, you're on the top of Mount Everest, then the horizon's not going to be below you. It's going to be directly eye level.
It'll be directly at eye level. Now, a lot of times mountains will obstruct what a true horizon is because they'll be popping up, above the horizon. But if you're on Mount Everest, there's already pictures that flat earthers use all the time. The horizon from Mount Everest, just like the horizon from an airplane, is flat, and it will split your eyeball right in half. On an airplane, when you look out the window, you look down to see the ground. And then as you lift your head up to 0 degrees, parallel with the ground, you see the horizon completely out in front of you, flat and at eye level. It doesn't matter how high up you go, whether you're standing on the beach or you're in an airplane or you send a weather balloon up over 100,000 feet. The horizon will always be at eye level. Now, part of the deception comes from these weather balloons, video footage that they share online all the time. They use GoPro wide-angle lenses, which bend the horizon, and it might give the appearance of a curved Earth, but that is 100% from the camera and the lens, and that can be proven very easily.
So, can you just explain to me, like, what the Earth looks like?
Are you totally new to the flat Earth theory? Am I the first person you talked to about it?
You're the first person I talked to about it. I'm not totally new to it, but we have a lot of listeners that are probably totally new to it.
Right. So the Earth is not a planet. It's a plane. See, the word planet, all they did was take the word plane and they added a T to the end.
Who did that?
Whoever invented the word planet. The word planet, E-T, comes from the word planet, A-T-E, which means a flat plane. Okay, so it's right there in the language. We don't live on a planet. We live on a plane. And what they do is they tell you, oh, there are spherical lights in the sky. So I see balls in the sky, therefore I live on a ball. And that is not scientific at all. How are you going to observe something in the sky and then say that's what you live on? So we live on a plane with the center point of this plane. It's a circular plane, and the center point is the North Pole. It's kind of like a bullseye. If you can picture a dartboard, the bullseye of the dartboard is the North Pole. And around us is Antarctica. It's not a continent on the bottom of the ball. It's actually like the ice barrier continent that surrounds us. And that is the container that holds the world's oceans in. Like I said, water needs a container. So the flat model has flat water with a container, and the globe model doesn't have either.
So if
the flat model is actually more scientific.
If you go, can you go to the ice wall and see it?
Well, yeah, people go to Antarctica, okay, and they have like tourist trips where they'll fly you to the point of Antarctica right off South America. They call it Deception Island. That's the actual name of this place. It's called Deception Island. And they'll take tourists there, and you can snap a few pictures, and they'll fly over the continent, but they won't fly across it. You can't cross Antarctica, come out on the other side. See, circumnavigation occurs when you're using a compass on the flat Earth, and magnetic north is in the center of the map. All they're doing is going in an east-west direction. They're going in a circle around magnetic north. And they're claiming this is how they circumnavigate the ball. All they're doing, though, is traveling in a circle on a flat plane.
And they're trying to trick you.
Well, I don't think they're trying to trick you. I mean, if you were told the Earth is a ball, you would just assume that's what happened. But here's the thing. On the flat Earth, you cannot circumnavigate north to south. It wouldn't work. You can't continue to go south, which means going towards the perimeter of the circle, and come back out on the other end. On a globe, you could circumnavigate north to south. Now, when you do some research, you're not going to find anybody circumnavigating the globe north to south. There are a few people who claim to do it, and they were sponsored by the British monarchy, and they were Freemasons and just government shills. So, I mean, I don't trust them. So as far as I know, you can't circumnavigate north to south, and no one's ever done it. And all these people that we talk about throughout history who circumnavigated, like a Howard Hughes. They go east to west. They go in a circle around magnetic north using a compass.
How high is the ice wall?
They say there are points of Antarctica, like when you're in the ocean, you approach Antarctica, and it'll be like an ice wall a mile or two high at some place.
And none of these guys flying around Antarctica have ever tried to fly over the ice wall?
Well, I think we have different ideas of what the ice wall is. I don't know you want to know what the absolute end of it is, like in the Truman Show, and he reaches the wall. I don't know what's at the end of Antarctica. I don't know if there is a wall. There are many flat earthers who think the flat earth plane is actually infinite. So once you reach the Antarctic ice could go on forever, or there could be other Earth ponds, if you will, out there. So instead of planets in the sky, there'll be other flat Earth planes with their own suns. It's called puddle theory. So you have a giant sheet of ice, that's the universe, and there are a bunch of little puddles. And Earth is just one puddle. Like, that's some people's theory. That doesn't line up with any kind of scripture, so I don't really believe in that. But
well, what about pictures from space where you can see that it's not an ice puddle?
Oh yeah. So the first full image of the globe that they showed us from space was Apollo 17, and they use that image in like every single science book. They use it for just about everything. It's a picture of Saudi Arabia, the Middle East, and Africa. It's the most famous picture ever.
Yeah,
that was the only photograph that they claimed to have taken of a full hemisphere, like a fully lit side of the Earth, in 40 years. They only had one photograph until 2015. They just released new so-called photographs of the Earth, and they showed the dark side of the moon in one of those photographs. But every other image you've ever seen of the Earth, NASA doesn't even claim their photographs. They use the word composite. There are paintings. There are CGI.
So
if
I Google photo of Earth from space, then you're saying that like most of these aren't even real.
No, the only one they claim is real is the Apollo 17 and the images from 2015, and that's straight from their mouths.
I feel you.
A lot of the other images you see are called the Blue Marble series, and they were created. I have a video on this about a month or two ago, where they did it with CGI. And they claim that they have satellites going around the Earth, getting information and data, and then they take this data and turn it into a picture. But it's not a photograph. You should be able to take your iPhone to space and snap a picture. They can't do it. They always have to use computer graphics.
So what's the moon, and what are all the other planets? If we're on an infinite ice sheet with puddles, then what is all the other stuff floating around up there? How come they're not on ice sheets?
Well, the Bible calls that the firmament. See, I don't believe in this infinite universe and this heliocentric model where we're all revolving around the sun. Heliocentrism, believe it or not, is not really science. It comes from the Vatican. It comes from, Nicholas Copernicus, who was a Jesuit priest. It comes from Galileo, who was another, Jesuit monk and worked with the Catholic Church. I know a lot of people think that the church was against Galileo, but that was simply a Hegelian dialectic. He was very much working for the church. And everything revolves around the Earth. The Earth is the center of creation. George Orwell even said that in his book 1984, that they can make the stars distant or near, depending on how they want them, that the Earth is the center of the universe.
Yeah, but didn't they try
Everything revolves around us.
Didn't they try to kill people who believed that we weren't the center of the universe? And it took a long time for the world to be convinced that the Earth revolved around the sun?
Yeah, I did a video about this for a couple of weeks ago. The church wanted. See, the church doesn't represent Christianity at all. I don't know if you're aware of that. The Roman Catholic Church is really just the Roman Empire rebranded. It's sun worship, and the church wanted the sun at the center of the universe in their false science. But it doesn't line up with the Bible. Nowhere in the Bible is going to support a ball Earth going around the sun or heliocentrism. Nowhere in the Bible. So the church had a problem there, and they created the Hegelian dialectic with Galileo, and they played against each other. They had Galileo versus the evil church. And what happened? The church was made out to look stupid, and Galileo was sentenced to house arrest. And since the church played bully, it just made everybody believe Galileo that much more. And people went out and they bought Galileo's book and they trusted him. And that was the way they sold heliocentrism on the public, because up until that point, no one would believe it because there's no observed stellar parallax. The stars don't change. If we're 93 million miles on one side of the sun in January and 93 million miles on the other side of the sun in June, there should be a change in the stars, and that has never been observed.
So why is, if the Earth is indeed flat and the rest of space is just this, actually, I don't understand like what all the stuff in the sky is. Can you?
We're together on that one. I wish I knew. It's the firmament. The sun and the moon are lights in the sky. They give us our days. They give us the seasons. They help us track time. The Earth, I have other videos on this. The Earth is a giant clock. If you could picture a clock with 24 hours on it instead of 12, and the sun being the hour hand on this 24-hour clock, that's how the sky works. And the moon also circles around, but it goes a little bit slower than the sun. And because of this, because they're going different speeds, their relative positions change, and you get the phases of the moon.
Is the moon flat? Is the sun flat?
I really don't know. I wish I knew. They could be spherical, they could be flat, but that would be conjecture on my part, because I can't go up there. I have no proof of that. I could prove the horizon. I could prove that water is flat. I could prove that the Earth doesn't move. I mean, have you ever been outside on a calm summer day? Nothing, not a hair on your head is moving. Yet science will tell you that not only is the Earth spinning over 1,000 miles an hour, but you're hurtling around the sun going 67,000 miles an hour. So the speeds are astronomical, yet you can't feel it one bit.
Yeah, but you're so small, and the Earth is so big. It's like if you're an ant and you're on a cruise ship, I mean, you won't feel any movement because you're so small.
That's one way people rationalize it.
Yeah, I'm rationalizing it. So we have a flat Earth, and then we don't know what's floating above us. They might be flat things. They might not be. But there is like another plane of existence above the Earth where all this stuff is.
Well, I take a biblical interpretation of this.
Yeah.
But I wish I knew. I mean, people kind of think the sky is dome-shaped, and the Bible would say that God's throne is sitting above this dome. Different people have different beliefs.
Right.
But I definitely believe that the Earth is stationary, and it's the sky that is revolving around us. And there's proof in this. Like, the stars take 23 hours and 56 minutes to take one circle. That's 4 minutes slower than the sun, which takes 24 hours. And the moon is even slower. The moon takes 24 hours and 50 minutes. So there's precision in the sky. The reason why the stars, the moon, and the sun are all different speeds is because that's what creates the phases of the moon. That creates the shift in the zodiac. That's what creates astrology. Astrology is an ology for a reason. It's actually an exact science that they try to hide from us. There's a reason why astrology is the ology and astronomy is not, okay?
So,
I'm sorry, but J.P. Morgan says that millionaires don't do astrology, billionaires do. The elite who practice the occult, they know there's truth in astrology.
So if the Earth is flat, then why is NASA? Why is the government? Why are they trying to convince us that it's round?
Oh, that's a good question. It kind of comes back to the fact that no one can serve two masters, okay? You can't serve God and money. You're either going to be a slave to one or the other. You're either going to love one or the other. That's straight from the Bible. So you can't serve two masters. So imagine everybody knew the Earth was flat. Or imagine go back 2,000 years ago when everybody, knew the Earth was flat. People believed in God more. There was a higher percentage of people who believed in God. How do you create a godless creation if the Earth is flat? They need the spherical Earth for the Big Bang to even work. They need the Big Bang and gravity creating spherical planets to have a godless creation. So they have to hide the fact that the Earth is flat, because when people realize the Earth is flat, the first thing they realize is, oh my God, God is real and I was created. And if you knew that, you might stop showing up to your dead-end job every day and working for money, working for debt money, and putting yourself in debt. You might serve God.
Why would we think, if the Earth was flat, why would we suddenly think that God is real and he created us? Why would that change our minds?
Has science ever come up with a theory for a godless creation with a flat Earth? I mean, the Big Bang Theory requires spherical planets for it to even work. And that's the point.
So you're saying if we all realized the Earth was flat, we'll be like, science was totally wrong. And therefore...
I think... Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off. I think that could be one way. I think if you said, oh my God, the Earth is flat, how could I have been created? How did we get here?
Why can't God just create a flat? Why can't science just create a flat Earth? Why can't it just be a new theory that's somehow the big...
No, you're right, but how would they come up with a theory that has a creation without a God? Like a random Big Bang creation, but on a flat Earth that has everything revolving around it. I mean, the stars and the sun and the sky all revolving around us. We're the center.
I don't know. But I think you could believe in God whether or not the Earth is flat or round.
That's true too. But look at the world around us. You know, it's going right to sin. It's going right down the shitter.
And so, if the Earth was flat, we wouldn't be sinning.
No, I didn't say that. I'm saying if people were more in touch with God, I think the world would be different. I mean, remember, say, when you see movies of 60 years ago or 50 years ago, and the kids in the music were singing, like, I want to hold your hand, and then there would be that guy with the Bible going, oh my God, that's the devil's music.
Sure.
You know, they're singing about holding hands. And nowadays, 60 years later, you got people singing about, you know, sodomy and rape and drugs. It's like the moral degradation of society has just taken shape, and that's because we've removed God.
That's somehow related to the fact that we think the Earth is round?
Well, no, I think they tell us the Earth is round as a way to hide God. I think it's all related. All the science they tell us is about hiding God. The Big Bang Theory, heliocentrism, evolution especially. All these things are about hiding God, removing the Creator from creation.
It seems an impossible task to hide this from us. How do they do it?
It took thousands of years, didn't it? And it took the smartest men of the past 2,000 years to do it. It took collective efforts of Copernicus and Galileo and Newton and Einstein had to introduce relativity to make it all work. I mean, gravity doesn't work without relativity, because even though you're sticking to the ball, how come I can't feel the spin? Well, now you introduce relativity. So it actually took some of the smartest men over the past 2,000 years, the collective works of them all, to create this theory. And it is a work of man. Yeah, the heliocentric model is a work of men. They invented it. They didn't discover it. That's not what we live in. They invented it, and they reverse engineered it in such a way that it can match up with almost everything we observe. They know how to use math. In the book 1984, he even says, you think it's beyond our mathematicians to create dual systems of astronomy? You know, two different models that work perfectly? I don't think it's beyond the smartest men who ever lived to do that, and I think that's exactly what they did. They created a dual system of astronomy. You've got the ball model and you got the flat model, and both work, except one requires your belief in it.
So let's get into B.O.B. and Neil deGrasse Tyson. So can you just really quickly tell us what's going on there?
Well, as far as I know, B.O.B., a couple weeks after Tila Tequila did this, he went on a Twitter rant about the flat Earth. And then the mainstream media started covering it, and the mainstream media has gone almost an entire year without giving any flat Earth any respect. I mean, if you look up Google Analytics for the search term flat Earth, it's up like 1,000,000%, some ridiculous number in the past year, yet the mainstream media won't cover it until Tila Tequila and B.O.B. come out talking about it, and then they have their propaganda machine go to work. They have CNN, they have Time Life, They have all these different mainstream media outlets, these Zionist-owned news outlets, attacking B.O.B. and mocking him. They like to mock truth. They like to ridicule truth. That's why we always associate stupid people with flat earthers. Obama does that all the time. He likes to call Republicans flat earthers when they don't believe in climate change.
He's called them flat earthers before?
Oh, yeah. Obama has been quoted talking about flat earthers in that way about 3 times. Okay?
Is that on video? Is that on video, or is that just
on video?
Really?
It's on video. It's on my channel. He'll say, he pretty much said, I don't want to debate climate change anymore. We're way past debating it. We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society.
Oh, my God. That's great.
And he said this 2 or 3 times now, and other people have said it like this. And so they associate flat Earth with stupidity. It's like the first thing you were taught.
Right.
Is that Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492. He proved the world is round. And all those people back then were so stupid for believing the earth was flat. And we know better now. And then you go to school. Doesn't matter what class you're in, what you're learning, there's going to be a globe on the teacher's desk or by the window or somewhere in that classroom. Every classroom in America has a freaking globe in it.
Yeah.
So even when you're not learning geography, you're glancing over it, you're seeing that globe.
And it's just a lie.
And it's reinforcement. It's brainwash. It's repeating images to you. That's why Universal Studios, every movie starts off with their nice CGI globe image. And there's a reason why there's a spinning globe on every single news program.
But, Jeff, there's also generally in classrooms a flat wall map.
Right. And that map is completely ass backwards. That's a square map with north on top, south on bottom, the Mercator projection. It's got Greenland twice the size of Africa, when in reality Africa is 17 times the size of Greenland. The map is all distorted. You can never use that map to do any.
But shouldn't you like that map more than the globe because it's flat?
No.
You hate them both equally.
Because all maps are flat, but they should be using the flat map called the azimuthal equidistant, which is the map we use, which is the round map with the North Pole in the center. It's like a projection with the North Pole in the middle. And you can teach science, even if you wanted to teach globe science and heliocentrism, you could teach globe science 100 times better using the flat Earth map than you could using the Mercator projection.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't want you to have an understanding of the world around you. Okay, they need to keep you dumb and they need to keep you ignorant. It's the same reason why they didn't educate slaves. Makes you easier to control. It's not in their interest to tell you the truth about anything, especially the world we live in. Why would they?
So do you think B.O.B. is in danger?
No, because I think he's controlled. I don't believe he's just a legitimate guy coming out.
Right, I saw you released a video today that was saying this. Can you explain that theory?
Yeah, because they like to control the opposition. The flat Earth is in opposition, and it's been growing. So they're not going to let it grow without having agents in place within this opposition. It's like whenever a protest occurs, they will put agents within the protest to turn the protest into a riot because they like to control the opposition. It's the best tactic. So they'll have people like Tila Tequila and B.O.B., people that, the public are not going to take seriously when it comes to scientific, discoveries, especially if they're saying the Earth is flat. So all it's going to do is make people go, oh, my God, these people are so dumb. They're saying the Earth is flat. And they're going to dismiss it without ever looking into it. Okay? And their propaganda machine works so perfectly. B.O.B. releases this song called Flatline with Neil deGrasse Tyson involved in it, and then Neil deGrasse Tyson comes out in response to B.O.B. like instantly, and the media covered all of it. So this was a well-orchestrated psyop, if you ask me.
What do you think about Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Yes, he's a Freemason. He's a New World Order puppet. I don't trust him. He replaced Carl Sagan as the TV scientist that you can trust. And because he's black, that makes him even more trustworthy. Like they did the same thing with Obama. He's not a rich white guy. Obama's black, so you can trust Obama. And they did the same thing with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I see, because he's not a figure of the establishment historically.
He's not exactly. So he has no agenda. He's so noble. He just wants to spread science, truth. And they have these science propagandists. They have Bill Nye the Science Guy. I'm 26 years old, so I grew up with with Bill Nye the Science Guy, right? And he had that TV show, and he had that catchy theme song, and we all loved Bill Nye the Science Guy. And then the guy kind of disappeared for a few years, and then they brought him back. Now that my generation are all in their 20s, and we feel nostalgia for this guy. We go, oh, I remember Bill Nye the Science Guy. He makes me feel good. He reminds me of my childhood. So now whatever Bill Nye says, we're going to believe. So Bill Nye is now, he's not a children's show host. This guy is a propagandist talking about abortion and GMOs and climate change and all sorts of false science. He's pushing New World Order propaganda. That's all he is. He's a professional propagandist.
Okay, so who's the worst one out of the three? Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye, or B.O.B.?
Probably Neil deGrasse Tyson is the biggest. Am I allowed to curse on this program?
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's definitely the biggest piece of shit of them all. He's definitely a Freemason, and this guy knows the truth and is purposely deceiving people. That is my opinion.
You think B.O.B. might be a shill?
I think he could be a shill. Just like, he's a famous rapper. He had to pretty much sell out to get to his level. That's what happens. I mean, in my eyes, nobody gets that famous without selling out, whether you want to think it's selling their soul or just selling out to the industry or whatever it is. But I think he's controlled. Now, time will tell if that's true. If this guy gets murdered or his career goes right down the shitter, I might be proven wrong. Maybe I'm right, but maybe that's all orchestrated too. But Neil deGrasse Tyson, to me, is the biggest piece of shit, because you can even search this. You can find a video of Neil deGrasse Tyson saying that the Earth is an oblate spheroid, that it's a pear-shaped oblate spheroid, that the bottom of the Earth is slightly wider than the northern hemisphere. So Neil deGrasse Tyson is quoted saying the Earth is a pear-shaped oblate spheroid, yet every single NASA image shows us a perfect ball, a perfect circle.
So what does that mean?
So who's lying? Is Neil deGrasse Tyson lying, or is NASA lying? Well, the truth is they're both lying, but they're contradicting each other. Even if you go on Google, they'll tell you the Earth is an oblate spheroid, but every image of the Earth shows a perfect ball. So right there is proof that somebody is lying. You can make up your mind who it is, but somebody's lying. I think it's everybody.
What about Tila Tequila had like a brain aneurysm when she started talking about the Illuminati. So do you think that maybe she's not a shill?
I really don't know, because I never even heard of her until
True that, man.
When she started talking about flat Earth. And then after I learned about her, I found out that she was in a porno. And anybody can go on the internet right now and watch her porno flick. So
I do that all the time.
She's not someone that who's going to take a porn star seriously when she comes out saying the Earth is flat. And that is exactly why they used her.
What do you think about Cat Williams?
He might be legit, actually. Him and Dave Chappelle, these are guys that the industry is definitely trying to get rid of. Mm-hmm. So he could be legit. There are a few people that speak out against the stuff.
Is that song Strange Clouds about chemtrails?
Who's that by? I'm not
B.O.B. B.O.B. has a song called
B.O.B.
Strange Clouds.
Could be.
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of coverage on chemtrails?
I have.
Okay, because I was outside last night looking at the sky. It was a really clear night, and the planes were flying over me, spraying the trails. And I see a plane flying from the northwest to the southeast, and I'm on the Jersey Shore. And then when you look at the trail, as it's getting closer to me, it's going higher in the sky. And then once it's above me, it's at the highest point. And then as it's getting further away from me, it appears to go down. Okay? But this plane was not going down. The plane was going southeast. There's no airport southeast of me. The plane was flying level with the earth. But because of perspective, it made it look like the plane was going up as it got closer to me and down as it got further away from me. So my point is that chemtrails are no different than the path of the sun. The sun is moving on a path that's parallel with the ground. But as it gets further away from you, it appears to go down, and as it gets closer, it appears to go up. That's all due to perspective. And it's no different than the way the chemtrails work.
Do you think chemtrails have anything to do with covering up the flat Earth?
Well, people who have been following chemtrails even before flat Earth was like in anyone's minds, they came up with this theory that the chemtrails were following the sun. I don't know if you heard that they were trying to block out the sun.
No, I have not.
And to me, you never heard that. So I heard that before flat Earth, and it didn't really make sense on the globe model. But it does kind of make sense on a flat model where the sun is much smaller and much closer. And for some reason, they might be trying to block it out. But I don't exactly know what chemtrails are, but I sure know there's something sinister to them. They're not just condensation. I don't know if it's weather modification or poison, population control. They're spraying us with drugs. I don't know what it is, but they're doing something and they're not being honest about it. And that's all like truth, right?
Mm. Well, we're running out of time here. So is there anything you want to say in conclusion to people who may not subscribe to the flat Earth theory?
Right. I try to get as much information as possible on this program in 40 minutes, but it's not something you could research in 40 minutes. There's so much to it. So if you want more information, you go on my channel on StinkyCASH. I'm literally just a 26-year-old college student. I'm unemployed. I'm not a paid shill. I don't know, people think I'm a paid shill, but there are other channels out there too that have great information. There's a guy named Mark Sargent. There's a guy named Eric Dubay. There's a guy named Matt Towerland. They might all be shills, but they all have pretty good information in little bits. So you just listen to everybody and follow none and come up with your own conclusions. You know, think for yourself and trust yourself. Trust your senses and trust your gut.
Cool. That's Jeff from StinkyCASH, which is youtube.com/StinkyCASH. You can find, he posts videos on flat Earth theory and other conspiracy theory related things occasionally, almost twice a week. So check him out. Jeff, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate